Have you ever felt like you're down to your very last bit of hope? Like you've got nothing left to give? Today, let's journey back to a time of severe famine, a time when hope was as scarce as food. We're talking about the incredible story of Elijah and the widow of Zarephath, found in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 17. Imagine this: a devastating drought has gripped the land for years. The rivers have dried up, the fields are barren, and people are starving. In the midst of this crisis, God sends his prophet, Elijah, to a seemingly random town called Zarephath. Why there? God tells him, "I have commanded a widow there to feed you." So, Elijah travels to Zarephath. At the town gate, he sees a woman gathering sticks. As she goes to get it, he adds, "And please, bring me a piece of bread." Her reply is heartbreaking. She says, "As surely as the Lord your God lives, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it, and then die." Can you feel the weight of her despair? This wasn't just a bad day, this was the end of the line. She was preparing for her and her son's final meal. She had accepted their fate. Her resources were completely exhausted, and her hope had run dry along with the rain. This is a moment we can all relate to. Even if we haven't faced literal starvation, we've all had times where we feel we're at our absolute limit. Maybe it's a financial crisis, a health battle, a broken relationship, or a career at a dead end. You look at what you have left, and it just doesn't seem like enough to get through. But then, Elijah says something that sounds completely outrageous. He tells her, "Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said. But first, make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me, and then make something for yourself and your son. First, make a loaf for me." From her last meal. It seems cruel, even absurd. Who would ask a starving mother to give away the last of her food? But Elijah isn't just making a selfish demand. He's delivering a divine promise. He continues, "For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says, the jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." This was her moment of decision. Her logic, her fear, everything in her must have been screaming, "No, this is all I have. This is for my son." She had to choose between the tangible reality of her last handful of flour and the intangible promise of a God she barely knew. She was being asked to act in faith, to give from her deepest lack, trusting that God's provision would be greater than her scarcity. What would you have done? It's easy for us to read this story and think, of course, she should trust God. But in that moment, with her child's life on the line, it was an immense test of faith. And incredibly, she does it. She goes away and does as Elijah had told her. She takes her tiny bit of flour and oil, bakes a small cake for the prophet first, and then prepares food for her family. She chose obedience over her own understanding. She chose to trust the promise over the problem. And then, the miracle unfolds. Just as Elijah had promised, every single day, she went to the jar, and there was flour. She went to the jug, and there was oil. It never ran out. The Bible says, "So there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry," in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. This wasn't a one-time magic trick. It was a sustained, daily miracle. Every morning, she had to trust again. Every meal was a testament to God's faithfulness. God didn't fill her storeroom to the ceiling. He provided just enough for each day, teaching her a powerful lesson in daily dependence. He met her need, not her greed. This story is so much more than just a historical account of a miracle. It's a profound lesson for our lives today. How often do we look at our own jars and jugs, our bank accounts, our energy levels, our talents, and say, "It's not enough"? We think we need more before we can be generous, before we can serve, before we can take a step of faith. But God often works in the opposite way. He asks us to give what we have, no matter how small it seems. He asks for our first fruits, our first and our best, trusting that He will take care of the rest. The widow's miracle didn't begin when her jar was full. It began when she was willing to give from her emptiness. Her obedience unlocked God's abundance. So, what is God asking you to give Him today? What small act of faith is He calling you to? Maybe it's giving a small donation when your budget is tight. Maybe it's offering a word of encouragement when you feel drained yourself. Or perhaps it's dedicating your time to a cause, even when you feel you have no time to spare. The principle remains the same: God multiplies what is surrendered to Him. Your not enough becomes more than enough in His hands. Don't wait until you feel you have an abundance to be faithful. Start with the handful of flour and the little bit of oil you have right now. Trust that the God who provided for the widow of Zarephath is the same God who will provide for you. Thank you for joining us for this story. If it touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear about God's incredible provision. This is Word Alive TV, bringing Bible stories to life. See you next time.